So I'm recording this for the online students. And I've done this like 2 semesters now. And I don't know, the students, I guess, sometimes think, and I'm talking to you, that this is like a movie when I say I will post a video of the class and the thing will be like an edited video and be like zoom in lens, and I'm just gonna record the class, that's it. But if you put on headphones so you can actually hear it better, and then have the directions printed out, and then go through the steps, because all we're going to do is just go through the steps of what the directions are right now. So if you do that, and then you can hit pause as you're doing the steps. All we're doing is the directions, but you'll hear my voice as the narrator. So in Canvas, in our class, under modules, and I know this one was confusing. There was 2 different things to click on. One of them has the directions, and one of them has the is where you drop it. Let me go back for 1 second. Let me say modules. So on this one, Census 1, there is a little bit more. So for Census 1, we're going to follow the steps and the directions. The first page of the directions is how to navigate the census website. The government shutdown will soon start to affect the data that we might have access to. Basically, these sites got to be updated all the time. And if they're not updated, then they just go blank. And any day now, any minute now, all of the government websites are going to go blank. So the government shutdown, if you're here, you might be like, oh, whatever, it's not affecting you. Well, now it's starting to affect me. It got into my business. And I didn't really, in 2013, there was a government shutdown, and it was in October, and there's like a month in GIS class and a month in this class where we're just taking different government data, and I just wasn't thinking, I just never been in a government shutdown or like one that mattered, I thought, to me. And the students were like, yo, it's not working. That website you said, it's not working. Do you even know what you're doing? And I'm like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know how to follow directions? It's right there. Click the button. And so now it didn't work. Everything had gone blank. And I was just like, well, what do I do now? The whole month was based on like getting data and working with data. And I was kind of stumped in class. So we had a free class today. We just left and I had to figure out what we were going to do for a month until the shutdown was over. Actually, it wasn't a month. It was like 3 weeks. So that we don't have that same predicament, I've downloaded all the data for you, because you wouldn't want to just have no class and then me making up silly little assignments where you don't learn how to use data. So I downloaded the data for you. But you want to know how to do it though, because like your tax dollars go to be in this like public information, and you want to be able to find out. I mean, basically anything that your tax dollars go to fund, those people have to report it to somewhere and have all of their data publicly available. Your tax dollars go to like police and prisons, so you can know everything about every prisoner in every state in America. Your tax dollars go to, where else do tax dollars go? Schools. And at the end of the semester or the last month, we are going to take school data about here in Miami and see how this gap between rich and poor and minorities performance gap is affecting students here in Miami. All this data is readily at our avail. So right now though, we're just doing census data. So I gather all the data for you. So in the directions, we could just skip to step 2, because the first page is just gathering the data. When you've made a nice table and written 7 paragraphs, it might be easier for this class and completed documents and all completed documents for you in the future to make them a PDF. That's what a PDF is for, is so that you don't get embarrassed or not get credit for something When you're finished with something, you make it a PDF and it stays in that format. Anybody can now open up that PDF and it won't have shifted your pictures to some place and your lines over. It will look, no matter what, if I open it or anybody opens it, it will be exactly as how you saved it. This ensures that the formatting doesn't change and you never have to explain to your boss why the graphs and words are out of sync. One more thing in the directions, I say to make 6 paragraphs, but I am thinking we do 7. The last paragraph being which states are in multiple categories of data. So this is where you turn it in. Back here under modules has all of what the directions are. Let's open up Census 1 directions. And let's open up the data. I might as well just open up everything. So to turn in data table in 6 paragraphs, but we just decided 7, describing the table. 1 paragraph of methods and 5 paragraphs of data analysis. The data will be on the US states, top 5 and bottom 5 for each of these categories. We're gonna get, and I've already gotten it though, data for per capita income, poverty as a percent, high school dropout percent, college degrees as a percent, and graduate degree. The writing may seem boring, but that is what methods and data are. There is no place for your opinion in data and describing the analysis. Like no place for it. There's nothing that you have to contribute. All you're doing is finding out the facts. Where was I? Right? Say boring, but that's what data methods are. Read any journal article, and these are usually the most boring sections of the paper. But they're also the most important section. Remember this, what you are doing in the writing, and now this is in capitals, what you are doing in the writing is narrating for the reader on how to read the table. Tables are hard to read, and you writing is guiding the reader's eyes for what is significant in the table. So, imagine we are looking at this big table for the reader to find out what is significant. What we're describing as significant right now is saying that the 5 most and least. That's only for this assignment. It's kind of trivial, but we're just doing an assignment. A little warm-up exercise as our first assignment. So to go through this whole table and for the reader to let's just say you're just going to spew out, and this is why, you know, Alabama is the way it is because education and poverty and whatever facts we just had. Now, if we were to just spout this out, the reader wouldn't necessarily know how to go through this. If you just jump to the conclusions about Alabama or something, or some other state that we were talking about in here. What we're doing in the analysis is explaining what it is we're supposed to be looking at. So we're going to clean up this table, and in our writing, we are going to just describe what it is that the reader needs to pay attention to. I guess it's in Chrome. Right. We're just narrating for what to read in the table. So here is how you get to Fact Finder. Let me just see if it's working. See, it's saying, notice due to lapse in federal funding, this site is not being updated. At any moment, it's going to shut down. For right now, it is still working though. Topics, open the Excel file, next do this. So our data is just for 25 years and over, all this for education. Go to the website, state, go back to the census website. Right, so step 2 starts right here, and this is when the data is complete and we're just cleaning up the data. Cleaning the data. The first thing, DC and Puerto Rico are unfair comparisons for many reasons. Erase them for your results. Like what reasons? Why, if we have a table of all of the states and data, we have a table here. Well, first, let's also get rid of, say, this column, this row. Let's make this thing easier to read also. State, let's make it all caps. Yes. But it's not fully there yet. Less than diploma. There's two columns because the way the data was situated was those who went through 9th and 12th grade without a diploma and those who never made it to 9th grade. So we have to add these two columns. These numbers, what you would think they are? So in the US in total, about 15% are below the poverty line. Per capita income is 28,555. 5.8 plus 7.8 is 12. 13.6% are dropouts. 18.3% of a college degree. Actually, this one you gotta add to this one to actually find out the bachelor's degree, because people with a grad degree also have the bachelor's degree. So the bachelor's degree is more like 20, it's about 30% of people over 25. Y'all's generation is gonna be different. Or in just a few years it'll be different, because say like, people in their 60s right now, only about 5% of that generation went to college. Wait, is that 60s? People are in their 60s now, going 29, 59. No, see, that's what people more like in their late 70s, only like 5%. It was when the 1950s, when we built suburbs, when we built all this stuff, is when like this huge expanse and created a middle class, is when all of a sudden a lot more people started going to college. We opened it up. We created the state-funded colleges really expanded. I mean, even this school was in it says it on somewhere. It's probably in this room somewhere. Nope, there's nothing that says FIU in this whole room. Oh, okay. That's a piece of paper. Oh, somewhere on that emblem it might say it. 1964 though, or is it 65? 65. So what's next year? That's gonna be 55 years. Exciting. Anyway, so even this school came up then, and I bet like UCF is probably somewhere around the same time, and these are the biggest colleges in all of America now. I think we're like the 5th one, and UCF is like the 2nd largest college in America. Something like that. Anyway, they're not very, grad degrees, 11%. Does that sound about right? And that actually also includes people who have like a certificate in like historic preservation, or that's not meaning a master's or bachelor's necessarily. That is an after bachelor's degree, some other degree that they have. .6% poverty. That's like 1 in 7 people. The sound of a cricket riding a tumbleweed. Yes, Adrian, what were you saying? 1 out of 7 people. That sounds like a lot? What is the poverty line? What does that mean? Hold on, let me explain something. This is what a social scientist does. This is exactly what it is. Understanding what is happening with social phenomenon amongst the population. So, poverty, understanding how we can do things to decrease poverty. Does the poverty line even make sense? So 1 in 7 people are below the poverty line. What is the poverty line? Do you know, I'm gonna make this up because it's easy to make up facts. But they like launched a person to the moon 50 years ago with like a computer that was less powerful than your phone. To the moon. And nobody can tell me what the hell the poverty line is? Can somebody look it up?
Poverty line is the certain amount of money that people make.
Okay.
Less than that.
So what is that number?
22,000 for a family of 4.
A family of 4 is 22,000. What's a family of 3? $20,000 for a family of 3, and 1 in 7 are below that. So a single person with 2 kids making 20,000 is poverty. So 21,000 is not poverty. Where do you think the poverty line should be? It doesn't need to be quantified. I'm not going to say, no, you're wrong. Well, no, some people you could say something and I'll be like, no, you're wrong. But where should it be? So this is taking into account people who live where you don't need to pay for housing. Basically, like Alabama. I pick on Alabama's not even the worst. I've been there. It's bad, but it's not the worst. Like Mississippi, these students wanted to go to a conference in Mississippi. And I was like, are you crazy? No, I'm not going to Mississippi, dude. We're going to drive to Mississippi? You got to get somebody else to go with you. So, this is taken into account because this is a federal thing, what the poverty line is. A family of 3, $20,000. So, it's a family of 2, like 17,000. So, 16, holy cow.
16,460.
16,000 for if you are a family of 2, a single parent. What is minimum wage? $7.25, and it hasn't been raised in 10 years. Wow, how the world has changed in 10 years, but not for poor people. What's $7.25 per year?
Well, depends on how many hours a week.
Well, if they gave you full time.
Okay.
It's about 15,000. Wait, what's the poverty line just for one person?
12,000.
Right. So, yeah. Where do you think would be a fair and living wage living in Miami, and what should the poverty line, you think? 20,000. So a family of, all right, family of 2, just a single person who has a kid that we got to be responsible for. They're saying 16,000 is the poverty line. How would you be living if you had 16,000 in Miami?
You can't.
I actually do not think that's possible. I don't think it's possible. You still got to eat. You still got to get to wherever you're getting that $16,000 from. And that's probably not where the cheap efficiencies are, right? So wherever you can afford a cheap efficiency is probably not even where you could get a job.
Like they have efficiencies for like 400 in Cutler, but what is down there?
What's Cutler? Oh, down there. There's an efficiency for 400.
Yeah, 400, 500, like what's down there?
I mean, maybe you could work as a Walmart probably somewhere, and you could walk to Walmart and steal food from your job. And no, what else are you gonna do? So, these kind of like figures are clear then to show us that our policies in the country are to the benefit of large corporations, not to people. Because in order for you to live like this, you would have to then, so that Chris Rock said one time, like, do you know what minimum wage is? He defined it. Minimum wage means your boss saying, if I could pay you less, I would, but the government is coming in and making me pay you $7.25. If I could get away with paying you $5, I would. So if this is not enough to live on, that means then that you have to get some type of subsidy for housing, subsidy for, I would say heat, but here probably AC, and food stamps.
Doesn't minimum wage vary by state too?
there is a federal minimum wage, and then certain places have, they said, no, this is not possible. But Miami, in Florida in general, does not have a very strong grass movement, social justice kind of movement. So that I'm surprised some of my college students in the summertime are working for less than $10 an hour. And I'm looking at them like they're crazy. Like, in DC, we passed $15 an hour. So if you're a high school kid bagging groceries, you make $15 an hour. That's just the basic where income starts at. That's what DC minimum wage is. And they're trying to fight for it in other places, but you see us a fight for bosses, for owners of labor to have to pay you what you can live on. And so you can't necessarily live on the minimum wage, but the government will pick up what the companies cannot pick up. So 1 in 7 are below poverty, but that poverty line is not a very valid line, because probably a family of 2 in Miami, I would say, needs about 30,000. I mean, that's what I would say. If you're making less than 30, you're poor. You're not gonna be. You should have. I'm not saying rethought. Like, that's wherever you were before. Was it really a worse situation? If you're making less than 30 in Miami, I don't know how you're gonna. That's about it. The per capita income, the PCI, 28,555 in America. Sound right? Are you gonna make 28,555? 555, yes. That's what you're gonna make? That's what you're in college for? Much more than that.
You aspire to at least double.
Double that. So you're gonna be making like 56. Next year when you graduate?
Be nice.
Be nice. That would be nice.
Wages in Miami are low in general.
Wages in Miami are low in general. Wages in Florida are low in general. I think Florida is below what the national average is. Florida's down here 26,499. But this is PCI. You will probably make more than this. So what's PCI?
Per capita income.
So how do you determine that?
Total amount divided by the amount of people.
Exactly. So there's a lot of people. So this is working age people. So it's not including, 1-year-old infants. But, and it's people about like working age might be 16 or something, 15. 16. You know what's so weird? Like, I don't think if you're less than 16, it would even be possible for you to get a job now. And you think of, and I remember like when I was young, there was I had to read it, so I read it kind of. The Jungle, Upton Sinclair, and just what goes into like manufacturing and stuff. And these child labor laws, they were wonderful things, but I'm even thinking like now, like, so I read it then thinking, wow, it was really bad back then. But there were still laws. You had to be 16 to get a job. But I had a job at like 13. I was definitely child labor. And I think about it now, it's like nobody would hire somebody under 16 now, but they were definitely exploiting 13-year-olds, paying less than minimum wage, and I think about it. And I was happy to do it. Happy to do it. In many places, there was tons of work you could get in the 80s as a child. Not during school time. That would probably be ethically, that person would probably get, boycotted or shut down or something. So anyway, now that we understand a little bit about what our data is, what's the first thing that we have to do here?
Get rid of Puerto Rico and DC.
Get rid of Puerto Rico. So all of that time, we still haven't gotten rid of half an hour of class. We still didn't get rid of Puerto Rico and DC. Why are we getting rid of Puerto Rico and DC? That's why I was saying about what all this data is. What are DC's numbers? Well, DC has 46,000 as a per capita income, by far the highest in there. The grad school is at a 30%, undergrad is at a 53%. The numbers don't make any sense for the rest of the country. And this one's also a lie. Oh, but it's over 25, that's why. So that's like only, what's that? 11.1% of DC is a dropout. DC public schools have one of the worst dropout rates in the country, though. DC public schools only graduate about 50% of the students. So like half of the kids in DC are high school dropouts. So, but we're getting rid of this because it's an unfair comparison comparing a city to a whole state. DC is just a city. It doesn't have its rural poor population. So even Miami might be a struggle, but some town in some county you never heard of that's on the way to Mississippi is probably a lot worse off than they might have 0 people that went to grad school there, and the per capita income might really be 15,000 or whatever. It might just be people who work at Walmart. Some towns in Florida, I bet, are like that. I mean, maybe not Walmart, but everybody in the town works at like the exit off of like 75 or something. The whole town, like, you know, sometimes you exit the highway and that's what the whole town is that exit. So like the richest person who is the person who like owns the gas station, but they don't live in that town. Have you ever driven? Oh, okay. All right, so we get rid of DC because it's an unfair comparison. Just like you can't compare Miami to the whole state of Florida. Miami numbers are going to be really out of sync. And get rid of Puerto Rico because, well, look at those numbers in Puerto Rico. 11,000, 45% below the poverty line, 11,000 as the per capita income. It's not a state. We're not going to compare these states to Puerto Rico. It is not treated as a state. Last year, we got a sense of what America really thinks about Puerto Rico. This year, Trump said that he was happy with how he helped Puerto Rico recover. Nobody thinks that's funny? I mean, now you can't laugh at it now that he was throwing paper towels at people and like wanted the photo op of driving like a truck. The other thing is, what is per capita income? What would be a better way of figuring out what the average income is?
Looking only at full-time employees.
Looking at full-time employees, yeah, that would probably be a better thing. Like, this is not even, like, do you know what median means? Yes. So if you added up all the incomes, you go to the one in the middle. So the median income versus the average income are all going to be different. The range, do you remember these terms from like sometime in high school? Even if we went to public schools in Miami, they still must have said median, mode, mean, average, range. That's what we're going to be using to analyze it. That can't have us learning new computer programs to analyze our data, even though we are in college. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to do the old school, just coming up with a range. That's why we're doing the +5 and bottom 5. And we're coming up with just what is happening within there. So what do you think would be the best way? Median, mode, and mean, average. This one is kind of, average is also, per capita is a little different than average because it really just takes everybody. But the average would be just the wage earners. So even average is going to be bigger than this. Median is going to be bigger than this. Do you remember what mode is?
It's the largest number
The
of
one
households.
that appears on most signs, right?
No, it's the one that appears the most. So if you took everybody's income and just said put it in a, so these other ways, like billionaires throw everything off. Right, because there's a lot of zeros between you and a billion. So it messes up the average by a lot. So it does that with the median also. Because then the one in the middle is like a lot higher than it should be. It's being thrown off by people who are making like $1 billion a year. $1 billion in a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot to count. You need a computer to count that money. So, the mode is the one, if you line up like all of the incomes, but there's gonna be like too many. So if you did like ranges of incomes and said like 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and then just hit the one that's getting the most dots in it, right? That's gonna be the most accurate to figure out what the income would be. But we never do that one, so you can't even really look it up. Look it up, see if it's there. No? Okay. Adrian, what's the mode income for Florida? Please. She's holding a mutiny over here. I don't think you're gonna find it. I mean, it's possible to find it, but it's gonna be pretty difficult.
It's giving me median.
Right. Mode was 52,000? Yeah, median. All right, I did Florida, 64 for the median. Not accurate though. It's too high. $52 is the average. Median was 64. And I bet mode is gonna be somewhere more like in the 40s. I would bet. So, I mean, that's a $10,000 difference between median and average. But think about this. This is data about social phenomena. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And even right now, it's pretty quiet in this room. And I think there's a lot of students who maybe aren't into data about income. I'll just say that. But even to say what is the difference, it might be even a challenge for us, and you're gonna be social scientists. There's a $10,000 gap per year between median and average. But think about how many times we just spout out these things without even quite knowing the difference between median and average. You say, what's the average? People just use the term, oh, what's the average income? And it'll just say a number, and it would be any one of these numbers. From the 28,000 all the way up to the 64,000. Anyway, now we're done explaining what these terms are. Good. The next step, we got rid of DC and Puerto Rico. In the directions, the next step.
At the bottom of the Excel file, click the plus sign.
Click the plus sign down here. To make a new, we want to just be able to, so we can have a new file. We want to just get the top 5 and bottom 5 for starting with the first category, say, what was it, poverty, and then be able to put it in the new file. So in the new sheet. So this sheet has all of our data. We're going to the second sheet, and we're going to just input the top 5 and bottom 5. So if we highlight column B, say, like select column B for poverty, and then go to sort from smallest to largest or largest to smallest, it doesn't matter, because we're going to get the top and the bottom. So Microsoft has found data next to your selection, meaning the other columns. Since you have not selected this data, it will not be sorted. What do you want to do? We want to sort all of the columns when we sort this one, so that these other columns will still be in connection with each other. So sort. Now, the first 5 right here at the top are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Least poverty, and then control, click. The bottom 5 are the most poverty. Copy this and put it in our new sheet. And these are the top 5 and bottom 5 for poverty as a percent. Is it what you thought? New Hampshire, Maryland, Alaska, Connecticut, and Jersey as the least poverty?
Except Alaska.
Alaska, do you know just living there, you get like $10,000 or something like that? So you basically almost out of poverty just by being there. Because the poverty line is also fictitiously low. Mississippi, New Mexico, Louisiana, yeah, Arkansas. See, Alabama didn't even make this list. It'll make the next one, so don't you worry. So let's go to the next column and do the same thing. PCI, let's sort this in order. I could have gone from highest to lowest. How about that? No, lowest to highest is good. No, highest to lowest. Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Virginia. Copy the, oh, damn it. Connecticut down to Virginia. Control, and hit that. Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky in there again. Now we got West Virginia, pretty low income there, and Idaho. Copy. And the next, oh, wait a second. In the directions. Right, somewhere in the middle of the directions. We're supposed to, 9th grade, for the population over 25 and less, and that has less than 9th grade, in the column for over 25 that has no diploma but went to high school. These columns need to be added together to equal the total population for high school, for no high school diploma. So, have you done functions in Excel? Like just adding 2 columns together?
First column. Like sum, right?
Yeah, well, no, yeah, well, the sum is a good function, but not for today. Let's, what we're looking at, this one. Let's add a new column from over here at insert. And then let's just say this column F, and in the bar, the bar right above the data, we can say this column is equal to D plus E. And if we hit enter, now we have a number in there that is equal to it. So for the first one, it is 10.4. Now at the bottom corner of that cell, we can just grab that little square and drag it all the way down. And add it all up for us, just like that. Now the problem is, watch when I try to get rid of these 2 now. If I want to delete these, all of a sudden, my new column, I just did all that hard work. It's gone. So what am I going to do? Yeah, first I'm going to undo that. I'm going to Control Z that one. And then if we just hit column F and copy it, where are we going to copy it? We can copy it right to where it is right now. But copy it as, you see that thing? There's different types of copying you can do. The first one is called something. The second one is called values, though. So the first one was called paste. But if we copy it as values, now we can get rid of these 2. And now it's just keeping it those numbers right there. So we just want to copy it and then paste it right where it is, but paste it as actual values. The first one, it was still, the data was tied to the other columns. It was being referenced by the other columns. So when we got rid of it, it didn't know what to do with itself. This is, so now we got no diploma. I think that's right where we were, right? We had this and this. So if we now just put the no diploma in order, sort. The smallest numbers of no diploma: Montana, Minnesota, Wyoming, New Hampshire, and Alaska. The highest numbers of no diploma: Texas, California, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Kentucky. So Mississippi and Kentucky have been in the bad side the whole time so far. Paste. Now let's do the next column, bachelor's degree. Sort this, low to high, yes. Lowest number of bachelor's degrees: West Virginia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Arkansas. There goes Alabama. The highest bachelor's degree: Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Minnesota, New Hampshire. Copy. And so if I do it for the last one, grad degree. Arkansas, West Virginia, Louisiana, Mississippi. The most: Massachusetts, Maryland, Connecticut, Virginia, and New York. Copy this, put this in there. Oops. No. Undo that. Put this in there. Okay. I am going to do the first two again. I'm doing the first three again first two again, because I hadn't had them added up in the first time, and then it was all screwy. I'll put this one here. So now we have a sheet with 50 rows in it. So we're no better than when we started. It's still just a big table, but a lot of these states are repeats. So I think the next step in the directions is to get rid of the repeats. Is it? So if we sort this now, the states in order, then we can just select the ones that are repeated. Alaska, Arkansas comes up a lot of times. California one, Colorado, Connecticut, damn it. Alaska, Arkansas. Kentucky. So if we just select the repeats, then we're down to just 23. And in there is all the information that we would need to talk about in all of our paragraphs. The next step in the directions. Refer to the PDF. So when we refer to the PDF, does ours look like this now? Or start off like this. Then step 2, census 1. Step 2, clean. This is what ours looks like now. I gotta get the headings back. So back in this column, in this sheet, if I copy these, click on the first row, then right click it, it'll say add a new row. Doesn't it? Or in insert, say insert sheet row. Now we can, in fact, we want to insert 2 rows. Now we can add the headings as well as somewhere in here was the US. It's probably somewhere in the middle. Yes. Now our sheet looks just like this one. Then the next step in the directions. For the next 50 rows, 5, sort. Make the table look presentable. A simple way is to choose a style. I did not spell style like that. Oh my God. From the icon format as table. As you're a better researcher, your table should do more than just the options Excel provides. So let's select our data. So going from that first cell of 1A down to 25F, format as table. Now we can click a style, but you don't want to be too creative, but something that just makes it easier to read. What's this look like? It's too dark. I want to undo that. Select them again. Let's go with something that keeps it white. Better. Just going back and forth between the gray and the white makes it so much easier for your eyes to follow. So now, I think now we're done with this step. We're done with the data. Cleaned up, looking wonderful, and can be inserted into a document. You know, like when you read things, right? Right. And there'll be like a table in there, but it looks nice. Well, now you know how to make a nice table that would go into something that somebody else might read. Meaning you're on your way to being a researcher that is doing things and presenting your research in a way that others might read it. Here on the first assignment of, what's this class? So you do all of this. In the next class, we are going to talk about, because I said we're going to, in the directions or in the other thing. This is due on the 27th, which is a Sunday. Do not hit me on a Sunday, though. If you got questions, Saturday up until 8. Sunday, don't hit me up on a Sunday. I don't even watch football. I just like to do me. One day out the week, like, didn't Jesus say that for us or something? No, the first page. What do you mean when Jesus comes along? But in the census here, it says actually no, it wasn't there. I said it in an email. What did that email say? I said it's due on the 27th, but get the first part done this week. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed trying to do the data and the writing. Didn't I say something like that? Maybe not, but okay, I'm saying it now. I think I did. So, you get all this done. Next week, we're going to talk about what needs to be in the writing. And the writing is quite simple, but it's still like, you know, how to analyze this data. And I'm going to say analyze like with quotation marks because we didn't really do any hardcore statistical analysis of this. We just created a range and now we're just going to describe it. We're going to analyze this table in the terms of like, we've put it together in the computer assisted ways that we know how everybody in this room has the ability to do without any prerequisite. And now we're just going to describe what it is. And in describing, it's going to be very simple type of language. So I'll see you next week. Okay. How do I do this now?